We're super grateful to have this interview with Maria and Carlos because, we've been indulging in all sorts of plant medicine. We've been buying from their store as well. And the great thing about this is, when you dive into, all sorts of spiritual paths and everything, there's different types of medicines, plant medicines, namely, that can really help you with the process of healing, such as hape, which is like ancient tobacco as well, different ayahuasca in drops, like microdoses, you name it. And the great thing is we were just really, really grateful to have them because, that level of resourcefulness and understanding can really help you understand this world.
Yeah, absolutely. So we had the pleasure of connecting with Maria and Carlos. For those of you who are already familiar with these plant medicines like rapé, you'll learn a lot more about them and what makes each specific one so different. And you'll also be, if you haven't tried it, you'll also be, diving into this world. So it's going to be something that really opens up your consciousness, opens up your mind to plant medicines and how you can integrate it into your life.
Perfect. Yeah, you're going to really enjoy this. And a lot of these are shamanically backed. I mean, these are ancient shamanic methods, right? So this is just some really cool learning. For those of you, who kind of understood this, you're going to really geek out. This will be a lot of fun.
Thank you so much, Maria and Carlos, for joining us. We're so grateful, and we have a lot of close friends, and finally to have met you is just honestly such a privilege. I know that, we get a lot of things coming from all over the place, and they've come from you, and now having met you, it's truly an honor.
Yeah. Thank you so much for doing this. Thank you. We love your medicines, and it's so nice to be having this conversation as well.
It's an honor. Thank you for having us, truly.
Yeah, thank you so much. Without words, very grateful, Basim, Ramsha, for the support and the love and for the purpose. It helps us have purpose to bridge spiritual tools with the path walkers that need them, want them, and call to them.
What a unique purpose too, because you guys sure didn't do it for the money, that's for sure, because it's what led you down this path? What were some of those transformational moments in your life that made you decide, hey, you know what, we're going to bring these tools and make them more widely available to, people like us who may have come out of ceremonies and are now feeling lost and need that connection with all these different tools, and even, the rapé, hape, all of these, how did you guys do this?
It wasn't even like that. Even that thought process didn't take place. I'd been studying with Juanito for our teacher, Taito Juanito, for about 8 years, and Mariah about the same, but we didn't. So, for example, the traveling schedule and the ceremony schedules. And I just wanted to provide something to people. And Mariah on her own, I think, was kind of similar. And we would just carry stuff around with us, different tools. If we went to the Amazon, we'd buy as much as our book bag could hold, basically, individually, without even really being together. And I think once we saw the evolution and the demand, we said, I think this is something that we should definitely just take out from the book bag, sort of speaking, and put it in a more fluid, accessible way, establish stronger channels with the tribes that we work with, stronger routes of distribution. And it became a labor of love. And just the other day we were talking, and it's like, it's like most businesses that create fulfillment and satisfaction. I think if you knew how hard it was going to be when you started, you probably wouldn't have started in the first place.
Yeah, and I would just like to add, you know, the satisfaction from the customers and from our community and tribe that we've created has really been secondary. And it has inspired us and fueled us to keep building and keep evolving. But for me personally, the inspiration to begin this project, and again, as Carlos alluded to it, these seeds began before we even knew each other. And so Four Visions kind of birthed out of our friendship and our collaboration. But essentially, when I started traveling to the Amazon, when I started getting to know different indigenous communities, I was so touched by the ways that they affected my life. I wanted to immediately give back to them. And so the first thing that came to mind was supporting them and supporting their artwork, their medicine making, their healing tools as a way to empower them and to give them a place where they could share their incredible artwork and their incredible prayers. And so that was really the seed for starting this project, and then it's just evolved and continued to grow in the most beautiful way. And then now to, you know, hear feedback from people like you who share how much these medicines have changed and impacted your lives, it just fuels us even more and inspires us even more. And it's this beautiful, harmonious network that we've created that truly is a bridge supporting and giving back to the Amazonian cultures, empowering them while being a source of high quality made in prayer tools. And the reality is that the more plant medicine becomes accessible in the West, the more it's necessary to distinguish between quality and integrity when you're purchasing medicines and when you're sourcing your medicines. And so it's truly an honor to know that we've created a vision and a platform and a community of a community that really we can stand behind, and that we know the integrity behind it is 100% there. And that's really been at the forefront of this project and this vision.
Wonderful. That's incredible. You know, I love what you guys do. It's honestly like thank God, like, because it's just you know, to be able to share about also the tribes that you work with, because you know, I think that I think to most people can be a bit of a mystery, even people coming out of plant medicine, what exactly happened, your relationship with them, how you formed sort of this supply chain where everyone benefits.
Carlos, you want to talk a little bit about
Sure.
fair trade practices?
Yeah. So it's really important to understand what it's like on the ground right now in the Amazon. There's been a industrial invasion taking place over the last 50 years at what would be considered a Hannibal's pace. The level of aggressive devouring of the natural state, the biosystems, the tribes, the pueblos, the knowledge. Humanity has no idea what is at stake right now, and it's a very dangerous game that's being played in the Amazon with no real upside. The only chance we have is recuperation and a restoration of the atmosphere, not just the environment ecologically, the soil, the trees, which is massively important, but also the people, the knowledge, and the cultures. Most Westerners have no idea that over 90% of all pharmaceuticals have a patent with a molecule or a plant that comes only from the Amazon. It can't be found anywhere else in the world. Most of our clean air that we're able to breathe is because the Amazon are the lungs that filter and produce clean air for us to breathe. So right now, over the last 50 years, because there's been an aggressive invasion, not just of industry, but of culture. Our teacher says the Indians sold out for Nikes, you know, and it's a way of putting a light heart on a very serious story, that because of the alcohol, the sugar, the TVs, the iPhone, the introduction of completely foreign ideas, so aggressive into communities that really lived in a homeostasis with the environment, complete balance. It's beyond the concept of culture shock. It's culture war. It's literally an invasion on their culture. So what happens? There's the displacement of land. There's a loss of culture. Then there's a need to sustain the family because the hunt is no longer available, because the hunting grounds have not been taken over by petroleum companies, or they've been taken over by gold mining companies or jade companies or other mineral mining companies. So, or even worse, the fast food industry and the cattle industry that has basically slaughter fields that are hundreds of hectares. So just to give you an idea, every hectare is over 2 acres big. So you literally have thousands of acres of cattle that are standing knee deep in their own feces, and all that acreage was felted, all those trees, primary trees, virgin forest, lost. And once virgin forest is lost, it's lost. You cannot recover virgin forest. There's secondary forest that can be recovered, but not the primary virgin forest. It takes over 100 years for that to be recovered. So I guess it can be, but just not in a lifetime. So what does Four Visions Market do for all this? We create, and this is funny, Basim, because you said we didn't do it for the money, but then I thought about it, I go, well, in a way, we kind of did do it for the money. Because when the indigenous can sell to us their rapé, or their caripe, or their tepi, or their medicine bag, or their medicine lotions, or their medicine tinctures, right? That creates a chain of economy. Because the tribe and the people involved in either making that rapé, or those bags, or the tools, or the lotions, or the tinctures, or that were involved in harvesting the copal, they benefit from it as a community, as individuals. They're able to eat, they're able to clothe, and more importantly, there's a pride of culture. They're able to see how the culture of their grandparents and their ancestors is still as valid today, providing for them as it was 1,000 years ago. That they do not have to sell out to industry, that they can go deeper into their culture and deeper into their ancestral wisdom, and from there provide for themselves, their family, and as if they've done for millennia, provide for the world. So that's the bridge that Four Visions Markets creates between us and the indigenous. And then there's the side between the indigenous and the Western pathwalker.
And I'll just add a little bit to that, as far as, you know, the bridge that we're creating also has its hand in transferring the ancestral knowledge. And this is really important to us. We're not just a business, we're an art project that seeks to transmit the ancestral wisdom that these plant medicines and that these cultures contain. Our teacher, Taita Juanito, who is a traditional Amazonian botanist and healer, talks about how we are living in a time where these plant medicines are literally traveling out of the forest, out of the Amazon, and arriving to places that 10, 15 years ago they would have never arrived to. And so it's such a huge blessing to be alive at this time, to be in the West, and to have access to these healing tools, to these indigenous medicines, because they are very much a saving grace for us as humanity at this time. We are in need of these types of tools to help us to remember our essence, to help us to return to nature. And that's what plant allies do. They're teachers, right? And they are, within them carries the blueprint of our own essence. And so they reflect back to us the ancient memory that we are seeking to recover. However, if they are shared or transmitted without the culture, without the traditional context, a lot gets lost. And so a big part of what we seek to preserve through this initiative is the transference of knowledge and indigenous wisdom, the teachings, and the preservation of the culture. And so it's a really big element, a really big key for us to not only share the medicines, but also the transference of these ways of walking with the earth, these ways of walking in harmony. And this is a really big key also to the fair trade exchange, because in doing so, we are supporting this movement that's taken place, this globalization of medicines, which is going to happen no matter what, right? Because once humanity hears about these tools, it's nature's way of spreading, right? And this is really beautiful. It's a blessing, but it's also really important that we don't dilute and we don't appropriate these medicines, these teachings, and these cultures. And so that's a really big secondary element that we preserve, and that we give the platform, we give the space to the indigenous healers, the medicine makers, the artists, the space to communicate their prayers, to communicate their messages. And like that, these tools, they arrive to our doorstep fortified with prayer, with intention, and they are just as powerful as they are when taken in the heart of the jungle. And so this is a really big element, is maintaining that bridge, maintaining that link. And like that, we also want to teach people how to give back, how to have that relationship with where these tools come from. And so that's where like reciprocity really comes in, to utilizing these medicines. You know, we are so blessed to have access to these tools, and a lot of people don't really think about where they come from even, you know, and because we haven't been given that information, we haven't been given that knowledge. And so that's a really big element to the Four Visions project, is bringing it full circle, so that the people utilizing these medicines feel the connection to the jungle and to the people who make them. And like this, the prayer is amplified and the healing potential is amplified. So the rapé, we source rapé from over 12 different indigenous tribes. Each tribe carries their own tradition, their own cultural recipes for their rapé. So traditionally, rapé is a tobacco snuff that's inhaled or blown up the nostrils, and it's used to align the body, to purify the mind, to cleanse the spirit, and to center and ground us. And so within that context, each tribe has their own traditions, their own ways of cultivating the medicines, as well as their own herbs and recipes that they've used for thousands of years. And so we provide many different recipes from many different medicine makers all over the Amazon basin, and it's such a beautiful gift to provide so much variety. We have hapé that is specifically geared towards connection with the earth, grounding, spiritual protection. We have other hapés that are for cleansing the sinuses, for opening the throat and the voice. We have rapés that are specifically geared towards opening the heart, connecting with the heart, connecting with the feminine energy, the mother, connecting with the masculine energy, the father, or the solar energy. And so each of the rapés, they come with a different prayer, and the medicine makers, while they're cultivating the herbs and the tobacco to make it, are praying over it, are communing with the plants in this way. And then they take these plants and they make these rapés with that same intention, with that same reverence. And so when we pray with them, that prayer is transmuted to us, and it comes into our beings, it comes into our energetic field, and it comes into our life and starts working with us in that particular way. And so that's why, there's certain rapés that we would feel called to work with in different moments based off of whatever we're going through in that particular phase or chapter of our life. Or there's times of the day even that we would feel called to work with a specific type of rapé. And as a person goes investigating, a person goes learning and connecting with the rapé, a beautiful relationship is formed, a relationship where the rapé medicine actually begins to speak to us. And it's really a beautiful and even surprising thing sometimes, when we think about it from the mind. But truly, allies, these medicines are allies, and so they start to form relationships with us. And the rapé is one of the most beautiful tools that we can work with, because it starts to open up our intuition and our connection with nature, and we start to really form that relationship quite easily. And so as someone continues developing their relationship with the plants and with the hape, they start to have their preferences for the different types of hapes to work with, and you can go deeper into a study, an investigation with these different herbs and these different tools in your journey. So like that, it's a really beautiful medicine that opens up your intuition and your connection with nature.
What a beautiful medicine it is. I myself, I used to be a heavy cigarette smoker, like for over 10 years, and then I quit and I disconnected. But then after doing ayahuasca plant medicine, I understood that, and when I was introduced to hape, like I had a very, very intense connection to the grandfather spirit of tobacco, and I couldn't believe that this was here all along and that this option was here. So I mean, thank you to both of you for making this accessible, because I was able to actually deepen my connection. Ramsha was able to also have that experience and start to deepen her connection.
It is just something so miraculous. I mean, like, whatever I set my intention to, it happens. Like, it's such a beautiful moment. I have so much love for it.
So then, could you sort of help us understand, because what we've noticed is that also when the user has some sort of a ritual or a practice, I mean, you don't want to be doing this like you just came out from the gym and you're rushing, do a little happy it and walk away. There should be probably a ritual with all of this, right? Like something that allows you to maybe connect with your heart. Would you be able to talk about what works best with, especially all of these medicines, like what you can do, how you can also take responsibility for the ritual itself?
Definitely. That's such a great question, an important question. And I think it goes back to what we were talking about, is how to use these plant tools with integrity, right? And with reverence for the traditions that they come from. And so first, I'd like to say that when we approach any of these tools with our hearts open and with humility, then we can't really go wrong. That's really the key, to be able to drop into our hearts and to come to them with a reverence for their great wisdom that they contain, right? Whether it's sage and copal that we're using to smudge our home, or whether it's a plant tool that we are ingesting and taking within to create this connection. The key is just that we're utilizing them to create a connection. And so we need to approach it, we need to create the environment that allows that connection to be made, right? So we would never want to take hape like at a party where there's alcohol being served, right? We want to always maintain that reverence and that purity behind working with them. And so that's the first step, really, always creating that space, even if it's like in the middle of our busy day, that we take 5-10 minutes and we go outside and connect with nature, and that when we apply the medicine, when we utilize it, we are in a state of communion. And like that, the tools actually bring us closer to nature, bring us closer to our essence, and help us to center, help us to have that communion that we're truly seeking. And so that's the first step, is really approaching it from that place. The second, which Ramsha was sharing, is the power of intention when we're working with these tools. So they are teachers, they are wisdom carriers, and their wisdom is ancient. And so the more that we allow ourselves to open to their healing power by setting an intention, by really allowing ourselves to speak to them, to communicate, to ask for prayer, to ask for guidance, the more that we can allow them in to work with us in a good way. And so intention is the second part. And then the third part is, I would say that, traditionally each tribe has their own traditional prayers that they use, that they work with. And let's be real, we don't necessarily know the ikaros or the traditional prayers for each of these medicines when we work with them as Westerners. And that's okay, as long as we do offer a prayer, and that we do and make that intention from a place of reverence, from a place of humility. And the plants speak all languages. The plants will hear us when we come from our hearts and when we offer that intention in a good way. And so the biggest key, I would say, to working with these plants in a good way and getting the most out of them is truly presence and awareness, and making that commitment to utilize them as the ancient teachers that they are. Carlos, do you have anything that you want to add to that?
Yeah, I want to make sure that anyone that has a connection to Hape also knows that it's a very portable ally. I'm a big believer in using plant medicines to get through the day. You know, there'd probably be more than one dead motherfucker by my hands if it wasn't for plant medicine. That's a fact. And so if you know yourself, you have to be honest with yourself. If having Rapé in the car, like, you know, your applicator and your Rapé in the car is a good thing for you to have psychologically, because you know your grind, you know what your day is like, you know. So you know that there might be a time in the day when you have to go to your car for 5, 10, 15 minutes, you know. Maybe put on the heater or the AC in the car, I don't know, wherever you're at. But you're going to have to sit there for a few minutes with your Rapé, check in, drop in, have a meditation, connect again, clear the mind, have your Rapé, because you want to be the best of yourself throughout the day with your colleagues, with your family, with your employees, with your co-workers, right? People that you're working on a project with, whatever it is. And so you know yourself, or you know that maybe, you know, some days they're rougher than others. It's always good to have whatever plant ally. Maybe it's a microdose of Yahe. Maybe it's a microdose of psilocybin. Maybe it's your Rapé. I don't know what your plant ally is, but for sure, I highly recommend, if you're honest with yourself and you know that, hey, you know, throughout the day I could use this, absolutely, have it with you. And like Mariah says, you know, it doesn't have to be a very prolonged ritual. Ritual is from the heart. Intention is from the heart. Respect is from the heart. You take 5 minutes to connect with a plant, give it respect, ask for help because they're there to help you, and you take that plant into your body, that's a beautiful thing. So my whole point in this is to empower you to have plant allies with you always, because whenever you need it, it's okay to separate yourself for a few minutes, connect with your ally, and come back a better version of you.
Yeah. So resonate with everything you guys are saying. Incredible. That's what was kind of counterintuitive, because it's like, you know, because there's so many preconceived notions about tobacco and things like that, and you know, we felt so alone. Like it's like, whoa, I'm doing this 2 to 3 times a day. Like, is this going to be okay? Like, is this going to be okay? And it turns out that the medicine is letting you know, hey, it's okay. It's more than okay.
That's such a great point. You know, we get asked a lot about that, you know, with the addictiveness of tobacco. It's a big question that comes up. And if you don't mind, I'd like to share just a little bit about the relationship with tobacco, because I think that that's one of the really powerful attributes that Hape offers to us, is in the transformation of this very ingrained cultural conditioning surrounding tobacco. Tobacco, like you mentioned, Basim, it's a grandfather spirit. It's a masculine energy, an energy of protection, an energy of grounding, an energy of connection. And one of the most powerful things about tobacco, in my opinion, is that when it's used without awareness, without consciousness, it harms, it kills, it creates disease. And when it's used with reverence, when it's used with appreciation and respect, it heals. And to me, that speaks to the power of this plant. And within that, offers us the opportunity to purify this relationship that has been so manipulated and misrepresented over the last 300 years during, you know, the colonization and the manipulation of the crop that took place during the colonial times, when this sacred plant was literally ripped out of the hands of the native peoples and turned into an addictive substance in the form of cigarettes, where harmful chemicals were added to it, and addictive chemicals were added to it, cancerous causing chemicals were added to it. And a big distinction between, cigarettes and hape, which is really important for people who are just learning about hape to know, is that hape is a small leaf tobacco. It's not genetically modified to become this huge, large, high content nicotine producing tobacco. And so within the context of this small leaf tobacco is a completely different prayer. There is a prayer, first of all, where in the high nicotine content tobacco there's no prayer at all, right? And so within just even the cultivation of this plant and the way that it's cultivated for this medicine offers us the opportunity to transform the story that we carry around tobacco and restore the power of this plant ally, literally bring justice to this plant teacher after the hundreds of years of manipulation that it has undergone. We literally have the opportunity to resurrect it, and to, in doing so, bring healing to ourselves and to our communities. And so I just wanted to add that, because it's a common question that we get, regarding hape use. Is it okay that I'm using hape so much? And just like you said, the hape will go informing you. And what I've noticed, and I've been working with hape for nearly 10 years, is that when we cross that line and maybe we start to get sloppy and we start utilizing it with like maybe a little bit less intention than we mean to, the hape will actually tell us. So it'll communicate to us, and we'll get the clear message, okay, I need to check in, I need to organize, I need to come back, right?
Cheers.
Yeah, keep us in line like that. And it's so powerful, and it's such a beautiful experience too, to get maybe a little reprimanded from the plant. Okay, I need to come back to integrity, I need to come back to respect. And so that's a really beautiful aspect of the hape as well.
Music. Can you guys hear me okay with the rain? It's okay? Yeah. All right. We have tinctures and we have oils. Okay, and whatever we have that you see on our site, it is extracted at the essence. It's not a commercial purchase. It is the raw material that is then labored with prayer and with love to come to whatever that final product is that you're bringing into your home. So for example, with our copal, it's the same copal that we use in ceremony. It's the same copal that our indigenous friends and family, that they wild harvest in the Amazon. And then it undergoes a process with she's a chemist, botanist, naturopath kind of lady, very amazing woman. And she breaks it down into the copal oil that then you can put on your body, you can put in water and dilute it, and you can spray it. And what that does is it brings the essence of that plant, the essence. So for example, the copal is protection, the Palo Santo is protection. It's also sweetness. It also repels negativity. It doesn't just protect you, but it also pushes away. It repels negativity, and it calls in sweetness into your life, into your thoughts, into your relationships. So those are very important attributes of both the copal and the Palo Santo oil. You can put them in your diffuser, because everything is energy, vibration, and frequency. So if I'm taking an energy, the energy of copal, or Palo Santo, for example, and I'm infusing it in water, and then I'm having that be spread throughout my home, whether in a spray bottle or an essential oil diffuser, the ions in the atmosphere are picking that energy up, and because it's a higher vibration, it's going to raise the vibration of the environment. It literally works at the nano level. And it may sound crazy, but even as it seeps into the walls of your home or your office or your car, it literally begins to change the molecular frequency or vibration of the walls in your home or your car, your office. It becomes infused because the intelligence, the primordial wisdom of the plants stay there. It stays on you. It stays inside of your astral body. It stays within the energy field of the container where you're applying it. So it's very powerful stuff. It looks simple. It's just a little bottle, but it's a bottle that's got the raw energy of the jungle in it. If you're willing to work with it, if you're willing to give it a little prayer, a little activation, ask the Creator for a little bit of help, because everything is connected, everything is co-creation. And then we have the tinctures. The tinctures that we carry now, except the elderberry. The elderberry is made by a beautiful sister of ours that lives in native lands in the U.S. But the tinctures that we carry, apart from the elderberry, are made by our teacher. They're made with Amazonian plants in the Amazon, and there's a vast array of properties that they're used for. We have tinctures to help cleanse the blood. We have tinctures to help reduce stress, anxiety, and help relax the nervous system. We have tinctures to help specifically with the matriz, the matrix, the womb, and all the areas of the feminine energies. We have an amazing tincture, It's called Ambisacha, and this is a direct Yahe tincture. It is a pure microdose. It is made with the utmost of respect and power and chance. It's made in small batches so that every batch gets maximum concentration, maximum potency. And so this is something that you could use to, in the mornings, if you wanted to have immunological support, for example. You would take 6 to 10 drops under your tongue in the morning. But if you really wanted to use it for what it was, you could use a spaceship to fly, I guess, across the sky, or you can go to another planet. And this tincture, if you take 6 to 10 drops at night, just before going to bed, it prepares you for astral flight. What we've noticed is that, first of all, you have to use it for a minimum of 15 nights consecutively. But what will happen is your dreams become more lucid, you become more connected, and boom, you'll hit a point, a sweet spot, where every night you're there with the medicine. It doesn't have the same visceral or physical reactions of the purge, and the other side where it comes out, but it gives you the spiritual evolution. It's like going to spiritual school every night. So imagine after 15 nights of doing a mini study with Yahe or ayahuasca, where you would be, because Yahe is the form of ayahuasca that we drink in the Colombian Amazon. So our tinctures, what's most important about our tinctures is how they're made. They're made with prayer, they're made with love, they're made specifically with the intention to bring you the healing that you need from those plants. But again, the tincture isn't magic. You have to do your part. It's really important, and whether it's a cinnamon tea or the Ambisacha tincture from Four Visions Market that you're bringing home. It's so important to take a few seconds and connect to the essence of the plant in your tea, in your Yahe tincture, in whatever microdose you're using. It's so important to speak to the plant and to speak to the Creator in that plant.
This is incredible, and this is so important, I think, because there's so many people who may have had the intention of diving in, but then they may have lost some sense of motivation going on with the process, right? And so I guess what you're saying is that setting the intention is something that you want to develop a real habit out of as well.
Well, the thing is, Basim, absolutely. You want to develop a habit out of setting your intentions, and just to really bring it home. If it's a cup of cinnamon tea, if you have a tincture from some other herbalist, or you have a tincture from Four Visions Market, those are plants. Your essential oils, those are plants that are in there. And you can activate the ancestral memory of those plants by simply speaking to it. Hi, cinnamon, how you doing? Thank you so much for being here in a warm cup of tea with me today. Please bring me the best of you for my healing and my evolution. Dear Creator, thank you for the cinnamon in my tea. May it serve me for my highest purpose according to your design. However those words come out of your mouth, however those words are born in your heart, it's important. When you're working with a plant, Again, if it's a tea, if it's a salad, there's energy in these plants, there's life. All we have to do is co-create with them. From our heart to their heart, activate, acknowledge the creator, and all of a sudden you're not just drinking a cinnamon tea anymore, you're literally having an ancestral connection with that plant.
And the trust is so important as well, just surrendering and letting go. Like the how is the wow.
It's a big part. It's a big part.
So then you guys also have a lot of jewelry. Like we had a shamanic marriage in our jewelry, which was blessed by Mitra. I'm sure you know Mitra as well. And so, would you be able to kind of talk a bit more about that, the blessings on these beads, how they're made as well, because you guys have them and, we fell in love with them. I mean, you spent a lot of money on that, but we'd love to know more about that as well.
That's beautiful. So in many of the Amazonian indigenous cultures, the weaving is a pillar of their cultures, of their healing cultures, and actually serves as a path. So oftentimes in the culture of Yahe, for example, we talk about the different paths that someone working with the Yahe can take. One is like the path of the healer. Another path would be the path of the musician, and then a third path that is part of this culture is the path of the weaver. The weaver is one who connects and communes with the weaving the threads of life and works through the artwork, whether it be through the seed bead work or through the textile weavings, the medicine bags, depending on which tribe, right? Each tribe has their own art that they make, but they, through this prayer, have a communion with the Creator. And in this way, it's very much a spiritual payment. It's a way to give back and to infuse the deepest prayers that they carry within their hearts into wearable art. And this wearable art is then charged with a prayer, charged with intention, charged with this dream that the weaver carried through. And bead by bead, the weavings literally go connecting the threads of us to our origin, connecting us to our essence. And that's what the artwork represents. It represents the weaving of the ancestral dream, the weaving of the cosmic dream, the weaving of the greater design of the universe, the design that we can't necessarily comprehend from the mind's eye, but many of us have had an experience with the greater design through plant medicine or through higher consciousness meditations or through breath work. Whenever we get out of the I, the ego, and we experience something that's greater than us, that is when we're having communion with something that is considered the greater design, and that is what these weavings encapsulate. Each weaving carries its own unique prayer. There's different symbolism for each tribe, and it's a complete study to start to understand what the different symbols represent and what each piece is representative of. But when they're utilized with the original prayers or intentions, they can actually become tools. They can actually be something that becomes not just wearable art, but actually power pieces that amplify our own spiritual healing, our own spiritual evolution and transformation in our life. So for example, if you're going through a challenging time and you need the blessings of grace, you need the blessings of ease, you need the blessings of fluidity, you might choose to call upon a new piece or purchase a piece that supports you in that particular chapter of transformation. Perhaps you gravitate towards a water element, or you gravitate towards a weaving that has a serpent on it. These are symbols that represent grace, fluidity, flow, ease, and so we can utilize this sacred symbology to be allies also in our spiritual practices, to support us on this journey of life, which has its bumps, and we go through different cycles of transformation. And so this is the intention behind the power pieces of the jewelry and of the textiles, and this is a little bit about the practice of the weaving, which is a very, very deep prayer. It's something that if you're called to the path of weaving, it becomes a lifelong passion and a lifelong service and practice, because we can actually, those who become weavers actually become, they bring resolution to their own life through the practice of their weaving. So for example, you can make a spiritual payment by creating a specific piece for someone and bring resolution to that relationship. And so it's a very complex and beautiful practice, the practice of the weaving. And so when we purchase these items, we're receiving all of that power, we're receiving all of those years of study that the weaver has, that the weaver's cultivated and placed into those pieces. And then we're also receiving the prayer, the specific prayer and intention that that particular power piece contains. So the jewelry and the textiles are a really wonderful way to connect to the allies, to the animal kingdom, to the mineral kingdom, to the plant kingdom. All of these elements are contained within the weavings in different ways, depending on which tribe and which article you're drawn to.
Mariah, to help some of the listeners connect the dots, would you be able to kind of give a quick crash course on sort of like the different elements as well, and how they all correlate with one another, and what they're all about, just from a more kind of a broader perspective? Sure.
It's like you mentioned, it's a very complex study, but just a little bit of a crash course, for an introduction, for those who are familiar with the elements of water, fire, air, and earth. These are the four most common symbols that find their way into these pieces. So earth elements will find their way into the pieces through the colors of green, of brown, of different varieties of browns and earth tones. The air elements find its way into the pieces through symbology of the colors of white, of blue, through the animal totems of the macaw and other birds and guardians of the celestial realms. The water element is a very common element that is found in the weavings, and it's found in a variety of ways through the colors of blue, purples, whites, and as well as through the animals, fishes, serpents. The boa is a guardian animal, the guardian of the water realm. And then finally, the element of fire is often represented through the yellows, the reds, the dark browns, and the oranges. And so color is one of the main ways that these symbols are transmitted. Animals, like I mentioned, is another big way that they're transmitted. So sometimes, you'll see a butterfly. Well, a butterfly is the ultimate symbol of transformation, of metamorphosis. So it's very common for someone who's going through a period of deep spiritual evolution to feel drawn to work with the butterfly, because they carry the essence of grace, the essence of joy amidst challenging transformation, and they can bring in that spirit, bring in that prayer to support the wearer in their own spiritual transformation. So another common animal that we see in a lot of the weavings is the tiger or the jaguar, or the big cat. And the cat is the guardian of the earth realm, and so they help to ground in our vision, to literally bring body, bring foundation, bring groundedness to the celestial visions, to the guidance that we receive for our life, so that we can give shape to it. We can harness that power and bring it forth in our life to be sustainable, to be visible transformation that we get to see. And so the animal totems are another really big way that we see these symbols represented through the cultures. And then finally, I'll just mention really briefly that there's a variety of other symbols that are very common that we see. There's a symbol of good harvest, which represents that when we plant seeds, that they be seeds that we sow and that we can reap abundance from, that they be fruitful, that they bring good harvest, good yield to us in our lives. And so that is a good supportive prayer for those who are beginning a new project or starting a new cycle. There's other symbols that are representative to the spiritual path, general guidance and direction on the spiritual path, or connection with the Creator for those who are just beginning to walk a spiritual path and are awakening and remembering their origin, remembering their relationship with God for the first time. And so these are some examples of how the symbology can be woven in to support us on our path and can really be harnessed as power objects.
Thanks for sharing that. That's so. But obviously, you guys have a store, and we'd love for you to share about, like this thing. Would you be able to speak about Four Visions as well? And
Four Visions Market is a bridge between the Western path walker and the spiritual tools that their path requires. Our website is really simple, fourvisionsmarket.com. We have free resources on there, videos showing you how to use Hape, how to work with it, videos on integration from ceremony. There's videos for women. Mariah's put several videos out there for female energy meditations around the moon energy. And so, and we're building a virtual library of ancestral wisdom. So if nothing else, go check out fourvisionsmarket.com and look at the free resources. Get on the mailing list. We're always putting out a video or a lesson from our teacher. So it's a great way to stay connected. It's a great way to get uplifted and edified. So I highly recommend fourvisionsmarket.com, if nothing else, for the information and the opportunity to keep getting information, staying connected. Now, if you're a little bit more mature in your path and you've connected to the plant medicines and any plant medicine, but this is something that you've definitely incorporated. Maybe yoga is your path, but you've incorporated plant medicine onto it. Or maybe qigong is your path, and the same, you've incorporated plant medicine. Or maybe plant medicine is your path, and you've incorporated yoga to it. Four Visions Market is a place where you can get your hapes, you can get healing lotions, you can get spiritual tools for your altar, kopal. We have, as you said before, Ramsha, we have tinctures, we have oils that you can use to bless yourself, to bless your home. Especially if you do light work, body work, or healing work. The healing lotions are great because after a session or after a day at the office, we have a few acupuncture doctors that are really big on using our healing lotions at the end of the day. They clean their hands, they clean their face with the lotion a little bit, wipe down, and we have smudging agents. We have medicine bags, as you mentioned before, Basim and Ramsha. We have spiritual jewelry, wearable spiritual art that you have with you, that keeps you connected, that it keeps you focused. I always wear a bracelet. I just took mine off because I went into the pool, and I jumped on this beautiful interview just coming out of the pool. So our job is to make sure that you have the tools that you need in your hand to advance your spiritual path, to provide the service and the healing that you bring to the world. It's our job to make sure that we've got your back and that you've got everything you need. So that's what fourvisionsmarket.com is. It's a place for the path worker to get what they need to go forward and keep kicking ass in their spiritual life.
Love it. Yeah. Honestly, you two, it's such an honor. I mean, you guys are just unbelievable. I mean, I don't know why we haven't yet collided, but I have a feeling we will very soon as well. I do. Thank you so much. Thank you to both of
Thank
you,
you.
Maria and Carlos.
Yeah,
Really, really
thank you
appreciate
so
it.
much.
Basim, Ransha, thank you so much. To you, Basim, to you, Ramsha, to you at home watching us, the divine in us sees, recognizes, and honors the divine in you. And may every day be the absolute best day of your life. I love you. We love you. Thank you, all of you.
May God bless you. May God guard you. May God protect you always. Thank you for making this beautiful event happen. May your life be filled with the blessing of love and light of your Creator always.